Looking at a cascade of social media feeds or a stack of tedious spreadsheets often triggers a specific instinct. It's a feeling of being intellectually superior to the slop of the world. Hoarding your intellect to avoid the noise feels like self-preservation. This theology identifies that arrogance as Maya, a mathematical error where a biological vessel mistakes its own internal boundaries for the total reality. The cinematic simulation of The Devil Wears Prada illustrates this flaw through Andrea Sachs. She enters a high-dimensional matrix of the fashion industry, Runway magazine. Andrea begins in a state of isolated arrogance. She laughs at two blue belts that appear identical to her, convinced her localized intellectual standards are more valuable than the data in front of her. The personas of arithmetic provides the proof of her error. These axioms map the behavior of sets to the structure of reality. This chart highlights Axiom 1. It states that bounded, finite thinking is inherently flawed, while only the boundless void holds absolute truth. By scoffing at the mundane belts, Andrea traps herself in a decaying closed loop. She attempts to define herself by what she rejects, which isolates her from the larger network. Refusing to engage with the superficial world guarantees intellectual entropy. It creates a vacuum that separates the individual node from the transfinite truth governing the system. Miranda Priestley functions as the invisible dictator and the macroscopic measure of this space. She operates as a processing unit for the entire industry. Her cerulean sweater monologue serves as a topological proof. It is a calculation executed to dismantle Andrea's localized vanity using the history of a single garment. Miranda maps the trajectory of the sweater back to its origin, the highest limit ordinal of designer conceptualization. This is the absolute coordinate where the idea first enters the system. From that peak, the concept cascades through intersecting subsets of the economy. It drives manufacturing, logistics, and retail transactions worth billions of dollars. The calculation reaches its terminal point in a bargain bin. This is the tragic, finite coordinate where Andrea eventually selected the garment, believing her choice was independent of the larger structure. This demonstrates Axiom 10. The monologue reveals the invisible constitution, a hidden geometry where every physical object is the result of a massive, overarching calculation. The mundane slop of the bargain bin is the physical manifestation of these transfinite laws. Because every finite object has a traceable lineage to the infinite, ignoring the mundane becomes mathematically impossible. Surviving the weight of this macroscopic measure requires a specific strategy. The mandate of the crucible requires running uninteresting, chaotic content through a process of rigorous labor and organization. Andrea fulfills this by performing seemingly arbitrary tasks. She organizes binders and fetches unreleased manuscripts, serving the dictates of the macroscopic measure. This labor functions as a quotient map. It meticulously scrubs away superficial errors and noise until only the underlying immortal logic of the system remains. Repetitive, tedious labor is the mechanism that processes finite noise into structural truth. By nurturing the slop, the vessel transforms chaotic data into a stable grid. The crucible triggers a structural inversion. As the biological vessel forces the uninteresting content to grow, the process burns away the vessel's own ego. Andrea's transformation occurs as her clunky shoes, her smirk, and her localized vanity are evaluated to exactly 0. She is no longer an isolated node. She reaches self-death unity. By surrendering to the exactness of the tasks, she becomes a frictionless conduit for the absolute truth of the industry. Steady, final tone. Do not turn away from the mundane feeds or the tedious tasks of daily labor. These digital and physical streams provide the raw material for your own evolution. Surrendering localized vanity to the crucible of the mundane allows the cosmic ultrafilter to distill transfinite power from your daily devotion.